So let me start. There's a verse that came to me during the week. It's from Psalms. Psalms 104, if you want to look it up. How abundant are your works, O Lord. With wisdom you made them all. In the Aramaic, it's kulam b'chokhma asita. In wisdom you made everything. And that's where I wanted to start, because when we tend to look around the world, we don't always see what we would think is wisdom. We see chaos, we see fighting, we see hatred, we see all kinds of negativity. And yet King David is reminding us that because the Creator is perfect, then the only thing the Creator could create is perfection. Now, what does that mean for us? In wisdom, everything is created. So wisdom has to mean that there's a system to everything. Now, you and I may not know the system, but that doesn't mean there's not a system. God's system, in God's wisdom, means that everything has an explanation, an understanding, a cause, and a reason. I remember my teacher, Rav Berg, always talked about his teacher, who, when he was first learning Kabbalah, it's got to be 70 years ago already, he was asking him, he was learning like this. There's a reason to everything. So he says, yeah, what's the reason to a fly? Fly doesn't seem to have much reason, right? Much purpose. He says, simple. It's there to annoy you. I mean, like we said a minute ago, if you're in an important meeting, where's your focus? Is it going to be on the fly or is it going to be on the meeting? So the fly gives us an opportunity to decide, to use free will. Are we going to focus on the annoyance of the fly, or are we going to focus on the meeting or what's in front of us? So everything has its purpose and everything has an explanation. And for me, that's been the beauty of being in the Kabbalah and the Kabbalah Center. Because the Kabbalah is the blueprint that God used to create the world. It's called the Zohar, and it literally is the blueprint. There's not a question that we can ask that doesn't have an answer. And not just an answer. I mean, we all grew up with answers. Did you ever not get an answer from your parents? Right? You ask them, how come I can't do this? They always gave you an answer, because I said so. Right? It didn't mean that there was any understandable, it's just, I said so. I'm the dad, I'm the mom, I'm the this, whatever. But at least what the Kabbalah offers us, what the Zohar, is something that's comprehensible, but it's also congruent with all the rest of the system. So it's not just an answer, like maybe we've heard growing up in the religion we grew up in, or in our homes, or what have you, or in school. But it's something that as we will think about it and look at it in a bigger context, it makes sense. It makes sense. Again, I may not like it and I may not agree in the moment, but at least it makes sense and I have something to work with. And so that's what the Kabbalah Center is about, just bringing this wisdom to every person on earth. Because everybody on earth is looking like you and I for a better life. Is that not true? Even the people who are doing destructive things, they're looking for a better life. In their mind, this is how they're going to get a better life. We may not agree with the methodology, but in their mind, that's what they're looking for. Because that's how we've all been created. Wanting a better life, because we all have a sense that the better life is available. So I give you a couple of things. What I wanted to start with, now that we've got a thought that there is sense to things, people grow up, and in their life they have traumatic experiences. Right? We all had one, at least. We all have difficulties, we have challenges, etc., but we all have one kind of traumatic experience in one way or another, physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise. What the Kabbalists teach us is those experiences, it literally says, are engraved in our bones. Engraved in our bones. So that means then, as we grow up, what happens to those experiences? They stay with us. How do you know that those experiences are still with you? Because you still have hurt, anger, guilt, resentment, shame, fear, something. That's how you know that those experiences are still with you. And the sad part of that, and the part that we're here this morning to understand and to change, is to realize that it's holding us back. It's not about them. It's not about them. If something happened to us 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and I'm still holding resentment, anger, guilt, shame, fear, ego over it, then is it then or is it now? You think about it. So you talk to somebody, they say, yeah, you don't know. When I was a kid, this and this and this happened to me. Really? Well, now that you're 50 years old, how come it's still there? Do you show me every wound? Yeah, you tripped, you bumped your toe, right? You stubbed your toe, they took off the toenail. 50 years later, is the toenail there? Yes, so it healed. What about those wounds that we call spiritual wounds? We haven't allowed them to heal because we're still holding on to the fear, the anger, the resentment, the worry, the shame, the guilt, whatever it might be. And what does it do? It's not just a wound. Some of us, we think we can suppress it. You know what? I've survived since then. I'm suppressing it. I don't let it, bother me. I don't let it affect me. So I had a student a few years ago was telling me about someone they work with. Man owns a business. Successful business. So he must be pretty sharp in business. And it's a technical business. It's a dental business. She tells me he comes into work one day and something didn't happen the way he wanted. And here's this 45-year-old man, successful, adult, dentist, businessman, etc. And she says he starts to throw a tantrum like he's 10 years old. So I looked at her and I explained what we're talking about this morning. Because probably when he was 10 years old, something happened to him. His parents said no, he didn't get what he wanted, whatever it may have been. Somebody stole his toys, somebody wouldn't share with him, whatever. So that was engraved in his bones. 30, 40 years later, it's still there. The 10-year-old that didn't get his way, but now he owns a business. Now he's the boss. So now if it doesn't go his way, what can he do? He can throw a tantrum that he couldn't when he was 10 because his parents might have punished him. So is he the 40 or 45-year-old or is he the 10-year-old? Is he living now or is he living back then? And that's what we're here to understand. Nothing is going to change in our life till we change it. First, though, we have to acknowledge that it's something we can change. That's the issue. Because if it happened back then and it's still with us, now here comes the tough part. Who's carrying it? We've got to know we're carrying it. Like they say, old baggage. It doesn't matter where the baggage is, whether it's baggage in business or baggage in relationships. We carry baggage with us. Why? Because we haven't changed it. We still have the wound we haven't healed. And that's what I want us to get understanding today. How to heal those wounds. Because as you hold the understanding that we are voluntarily holding on to it. Yes, they may have done what they did when I was 10. But what happened when I was 11? Why was it still with me a year later? I have wounds. I'm not going to show you, but I have some physical scars because until I was 13, I was very accident prone. Nobody relates, huh? Okay. I mean, I knew the doctors in the emergency ward by first name. Oh, Chaim's here again. Okay. I mean, I was always doing something. Cutting, burning, scraping, straining, breaking, something. At least once a month for years. So here and there I can show you a few wounds. Have they gotten better? Yes, over time they've gotten better. But spiritual wounds, time does not heal. It's important understanding. Time does not heal our spiritual wounds. Only we can heal our spiritual wounds. How are we going to start? We've probably all heard the concept, letting go. Letting go. But I hope this morning we'll understand it in a new way. Letting go sounds like an easy thing to do. And maybe you've tried over all the years. And maybe to some extent you have let go. But if you're still engraved with the fear or the resentment or the guilt or the hurt or the shame or the anger or the hatred, then it means it hasn't been completely healed. And the beauty of understanding the power that God gave us, the light of the Creator that fills our soul, is there's nothing, as we will make use of it, that cannot be healed 100%. 100%. The physical wounds may still be there. The scars and things like that may still be, but on a spiritual level, I can remove them all. I don't need to have any scars spiritually, because the light of the Creator is the all-powerful healer. And the light of the Creator exists in each and every one of us. So we have the ability of healing it if we will apply ourselves. But when we unconsciously will carry our hurt day by day, year by year, for years and years and years, decades, then it's no wonder we're still living certain parts of our life as a child and still acting in childish ways. Yes. So then what do we do to let go? Some of us have it ingrained in us in certain ways. I'm sure there are some things you've already let go of, or you let go of at that time. One of the most important things in my life, or stories that I know, was my teacher, Karen Berg. When she was a teenager, she was a little unusual, even whatever her past life was, but she came in this life very mystically oriented, very psychically capable, etc. So she was a little different than the kids in school. So one day the kids in school thought it'd be a nice thing to do to lock her in a room in the middle of a field somewhere, right, and then run away. So for 3 days, she was in that room. Some reason along the way, the anger, the fear, etc., left her. She let go. And what took its place is what we call divine inspiration. Divine inspiration, almost like prophecy. And thank goodness that that did happen, because those of you who've been in the center and you know some of the miracles that have taken place and some of the things that have come about because of that divine inspiration in that existence has changed millions of people's lives over the last 50 years, including mine and many of yours and all the teachers who are in the center. Because if it weren't for Karen, we wouldn't have centers. The Rav, her husband, had the wisdom. He had the lineage from his teachers, from one master Kabbalist all the way down to the present, all the way from Moses on Mount Sinai. There is a lineage of one master teacher to the next, to the next, to the next. But he wasn't sure what to do with it. So, as the universe does provide, they met each other, they got together, and Karen is the one who said, we need to teach this to the world. And it's been that way ever since. So you and I are here because of that. But it's just to understand the power of letting go has some benefit for us. It's not just letting go of the dirt. That's what we'll tend to think. Okay, I'll let go of the bad they did. It's not that. It's turning darkness to light. It's turning chaos to order. That's God's wisdom in this system called Earth, called the universe. There's nothing that can't be turned from dark to light, from chaos to order. But we have to start by letting go. Anyone here ever climb a ladder? Climb a ladder, right? You and I live in an existence that we could consider like a ladder. Each rung on the ladder is a different existence of us. There's a Chaim standing in front of you now. There's a Chaim that was the last number of years. And there's the Chaim that can be yet till I achieve my 100%. Each one of us have been given 100%, so we are in some level of that ladder till we reach the top. How can I prove it to you? Think simple. We are not God. We are co-creators with God. We've been given the power to use the energy, what we call the light force of God, to improve our lives. But we are not the source of the light. We are not the creator itself. But if I ask you to close your eyes and think of anything in your life that could be better, can I ask you? Close your eyes for a moment and just envision some part of your life better. Better health, better love, better relationships, better protection, more prosperity, whatever, more peace of mind. Can you envision anything better in your life? Open your eyes and let me ask you, where does it exist? So you think it's in your imagination. But if it's in our imagination, it's already existing in a parallel universe, in a higher rung on the ladder of our life. But to climb the ladder, you're holding on to one rung. In order to get to the higher rung, what do you have to do first? You've got to let go. If you're not willing to let go to reach for the higher, then how are you ever going to get there? So imagine, like we did when we were kids, we're climbing on the roof. Because where I grew up, the roof of our garage, you could see the drive-in movie theater. We didn't have the sound, but we could see the big screen. So we would climb up onto the roof to sit and watch whatever the movies were, right? At least to see the action. So as you're climbing up, you don't think about it. But imagine you're climbing halfway, and then all of a sudden you say, you know what? I don't want to climb anymore. I don't want to let go. Think about it. Why did we? I mean, our roof was about 13 feet high. So as 8 and 9-year-olds, I mean, it was pretty big. So you start climbing halfway, and then suddenly you look down and you realize if you have a little fear of heights, what do you want to do now? Hold on, you don't want to go anymore. But now you're stuck. You're halfway up, halfway down. Right? The roof in the movie is another 6 feet up, but the ground is 6 feet down. You're stuck in the middle. What holds us back? Why are we holding on? Fear, anger, resentment, all those things. But think of the ladder. Think what's waiting for you next. But you've got to be willing to reach for it. And you can't reach for it if you're not willing to let go. Let go. Now, what usually comes in our mind, let go doesn't mean that the other person did the right thing. Let go doesn't mean that they're exempt from the law of cause and effect. Let go means you become exempt from holding on to that chaos any longer. Because as we've understood that we're holding it voluntarily day to day, year to year, decade to decade, then we have the power to let go. All we have to do is decide. I want to let go because I want to reach for the higher level of blessing, the higher level of all good things in my life that the Creator has already set out for me. But I have to be willing to let go. Nobody can let go for you. We have to let go for ourselves. And the beauty is, as we let go, we're replacing it with something else, just like the ladder. You hold on to the one rung, you let go, then you grab onto the next rung. And that's what will happen. I have a student who works in real estate. There was a program, if you bring in a new agent, right, you get a piece of their commission, whatever it is, for a certain amount of time. So she had a friend of hers that she brought into the business because she wanted. It wasn't even in her mind really about the commission, not in the beginning. So she brings her friend in, but the friend lived in a different area. So when the friend was hired, she started in a different office. Well, one of the agents in the other office wanted to claim that she was the one who brought in this friend. So now, as I heard the story, it became a company-wide issue. The vice principal, the vice presidents of the company were getting involved because the one woman was claiming that she brought her in, and the other one was saying, no, here's all the documentation. I brought her in. And it became a battle. And the student who was here started to tell me, she said, look, I didn't bring her in for the commission, but it was bothering her that this other agent was trying to take the commission, right, unworthily. It wasn't right. And then as it started to get bigger and bigger and create more chaos in the company, so she came and she said, you know, I just have to let go. I don't want the chaos. I don't want to be embroiled in it. I have to let go. So she did. She let go. What was the next thing that happened? Better. She got a new business deal. And she realized the fact that she was willing to let go of the one allowed her to reach for something higher. And in that higher level, the Creator has already set out more good than we can imagine. When you closed your eyes and you saw something, it's that next higher rung. It's already there, but if you're going to hold on for all the right reasons, fear, anger, resentment, whatever happened to you, if you're going to hold on, you can't reach for it. And if you can't reach for it and hold on to it, then you don't get it. So had she continued the fight, she might have gotten the commission. Maybe in the end of the story, she might have gotten that little piece of this woman's commission for whatever the length of time was. But it was nowhere near the commission she got on this new deal. So we have to learn to keep in our consciousness that once you let go and you reach and you move to that higher level, it's got to be better. In one way or another. Better health, peace, protection, prosperity, love, something. It has to be better because that's God's universe. That's the wisdom of the universe. That's the system. As we will let go, we will move on. Now, the same thing like my friends. When I was the kid, we're climbing the ladder. Every now and then, for whatever reason, became a competition to see who could climb. We're climbing the same ladder, because in those days, we both fit on the ladder, right? Today, I don't think we could both fit on the same ladder. So what I'm driving at is those people that you are holding on the same level with them, what they did to you 10, 20, 30 years ago, so you're both holding on to the same rung, right? They have a ladder that's bigger for them. You have a ladder that's bigger for you. If you let go and start to move, it doesn't mean they're doing the same thing. They can stay where they are, and you can be moving to the top of your ladder. So don't worry about what will happen to the other person. The universe is a system. God's wisdom is that everybody will have the effect of their actions. So you and I are waking up to realize, you know what? I've been having the effect of my actions. If I've been holding on for all these years to whatever happened to me, then the effect is my chaos, my not feeling good, my anger, my worry, my ego, my judgment, my fear, whatever it may be. I'm holding myself back. That's the effect. They're not doing it. I'm doing it. In fact, there are certain things that I remember growing up with that I held on till after my mother died. And I was still upset and I was still bothered till I came to Kabbalah. And I realized, look, she's gone from the world. She's moving on in her spiritual path. I'm still hurting because I'm still holding on to it. So can she still be doing it to me? Absolutely not. So who was doing it to me? Who was making me feel bad? I was. We make ourselves feel bad by holding on. That's what we need, some motivation to let go. Because as you let go of the one rung, you've got to replace it with something else. You can't just let go. Because sometimes even the pain and the hurt has a certain relief, has a certain sense of fulfillment to us. At least I know who I can blame. At least I know why I'm being held back. At least I can justify to my friends and to other people why I'm not successful, or why this isn't working, or why my life is in the state it is. And that has a certain bit of relief to it, a certain aspect of fulfillment. So yes, to let go is not an easy thing. It's scary. But we have to be focused on what are we grabbing onto in the next rung. What are we getting when we climb? And we have to know it's got to be something good. Because in the universe that God created, the higher rung is a higher rung. It can't be lower. It could be a next level of challenge, perhaps. But how many of us have gone through challenge in our life and been better for it? Right? Sometimes the challenge is what we need to wake up and realize I need to change. Because I don't want to be insane. I don't want to be doing the same thing over and over again, but looking to everybody else to change. Right? My life will be better when everybody else changes. So I'll keep doing the same thing, expecting them to be different. Meanwhile, they're probably looking at me and expecting me to be different, so their life will be better. I don't want that anymore. I want to let go. I know I have more to let go. I'm sure we all do. But I've let go of some things. I climbed partway up the ladder, and I want to keep going. And I want to keep going. But I have to know that the light is supporting me. The Creator is supporting me. I have all the wherewithal in order to climb. I just have to make the effort. But I have to look for what's going to be the next thing. So I have to know there's more light, because I can't let go of something, even if it's difficult, even if it's brought certain aspects of discomfort, but I've been comfortable with it. I have to be willing to let go and know that the next thing is better, no matter what it looks like. It's on a higher level. It's on a higher level. If I let go, then I can reach it. If I don't let go, I can't. I have a student who was telling me for all her years, she grew up with a sister 2 years younger than her. For all those years, she thought that she and the sister were very close. A few years back, the mother died and left an inheritance. Whatever the details were, the sister did not support the student in the center, her sister, in receiving the inheritance. So of course, the student who was here had resentment. How could she do that? We were so close all these years, and suddenly now she's misbehaving. And then she started to see, since that moment, as she's describing it to me, she's telling me since then, all her sister does is want to take advantage of her. She doesn't live in the area, so when she comes to the area, the only contact she has is a text. Can I sleep over at your house? So the first few times she said, yes, sleep over. But that was all that she literally did. There was no conversation. There was no let's have coffee. There was no talk. It was just she'd walk in, thank you, go to sleep, wake up in the morning and leave. So she's finally learned not to let her sleep over anymore. It's not a relationship. But as we're speaking about it, I asked her a simple question. When you were growing up and you thought you were close to her all that time, was she close to you? She had to stop and think about it. Never thought about it. Because she was always the one making nice to her sister. She was the only, always the one starting the conversation and doing things and whatever. So she thought about it. She says, no. If I think about it, since we were kids, my sister has always been involved in herself. What's good for her, the conversation was turned to her, whatever advantage she could take, etc. I said, so when you thought you were close to your sister all these years, she wasn't close to you. You weren't really close. So then why would you expect anything different than what you saw? If for 50 years she behaved the same way, why would you expect for the last 3-4 years she'd be any different? But in her mind, she thought that the sister and her were very close. So then this came out of nowhere and created more chaos because it seemed like suddenly there was a change when there really hadn't been. So sometimes we have to look back on our lives and say, yes, I'm holding on to this because I'm resentful what they did. But you know what? They didn't know. They didn't know any better. How many of us have guilt and shame about something we've done in the past? Any of you? But when you did it, in that moment, did you not have justification for it? We had a reason to do it. I just spoke to somebody recently who was telling me, he's a newer student in the center, he's telling me, as he's working on letting go, which is beautiful because we just had this conversation recently. I said, you know what, this is my Sunday talk. He wants to deal with his ex-wife. And he's saying maybe, as he looks back, he says, maybe I see that I shouldn't have gotten married in the first place. I really didn't want to get married, He had all these things. I said, but let me ask you, back then, did you not have rationalization? Did you not have a reason? Of course he did. But like the ladder, when you move up the ladder and you are now a different person because you've changed, then you can look back down and say, oh my goodness, what did I do? And that's what he was doing, which is two-sided. One is to realize, yes, he had a reason to do it. So the guilt and the shame that he feels now is only because he's grown to the next level. He's able to feel guilt and shame because he sees that wasn't the highest thing to do. But let go of it already. Even if it means letting go or forgiving ourselves for what we've done, it's the same thing as letting go and forgiving other people. Because he was holding himself back. He was now not allowing himself to grow and to go to that higher level on his ladder. But the fact that he moved up 1 or 2 steps, he could see what was on the lower level. He could see how horrible it was what he did. But once we realize, no, everybody has justification for their actions in the moment. You and I are here learning Kabbalah so we can change our consciousness and realize, yes, I don't want to be there anymore. I don't want those spiritual wounds anymore. I want to let go and I want to move on. Look at the story in the Bible. Joseph and his brothers, one of the most powerful of letting go. But the thing that I caught in preparing for this morning, it wasn't just letting go. Joseph, the first thing when you introduce the story in the Bible, Joseph had dreams. Joseph had dreams that the universe was showing him what his potential was, showing him that he could be king, basically, of the world. He could be the leader of the world. It took 22 years for him to get there. And he took trials and tribulations. His brother sold him. He was falsely accused of different crimes, etc., etc. But in the end of the story, he became second to Pharaoh, basically the leader of the whole known world, in charge of all the sustenance of the world. That's why we meditate on him when we're looking for sustenance and abundance, because he's the opening and the gates in the upper world to bring sustenance and abundance here. But he was willing and able, through all his trials and tribulations, to let go, because he kept in his mind that vision of his dream, that he was meant to be the king and the leader. You and I have visions and dreams also. When you closed your eyes, you started to see some of them. As you'll go from this morning and you'll move on and you'll take some time to think about it, you also have visions of who you could be. Don't worry about who I could have been. It's still there. Nothing changed. What God gave us is still waiting inside of us. Because we haven't lived into the whole thing yet doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't go away. What God gave us is ours forever. It's just up to us to live into it, to make it manifest. Nobody can have a piece of it. Nobody can take it from us. The only thing we can do is hold on to where we are and not grow into it. But if we can be like Joseph and we can start to let go, and we can be willing to say, like Joseph did, you know what? They may have meant it for bad, but God meant it for good. Because very often it's adversity, it's challenges that make us stronger. And therefore we learn to change our consciousness and see it differently. And realize, yes, if I want to go to that next level, yes, I may need a challenge to do that. Sometimes the challenge is just the discomfort of whatever I'm facing now. Don't they say necessity is the mother of invention? Well, necessity usually means I'm feeling uncomfortable about something not going well, something not going right, something not going the way I would like it to go, something not going in the way I envision it could be. So keep our eyes on that vision. And remember, we have the power to make it happen. And understand, the more we let go, the more we are in control of our life. As long as we're holding on to guilt, shame, resentment at ourselves or anyone else, we're being held back like the dentist. We're still being 10 years old, 8 years old, 15 years old, whatever it is. We're still being held back there. And we don't want to do that. We want to be unleashed. Letting go is unleashing ourselves and controlling our destiny. It's taking control over our life and deciding where we want to go no matter what anybody else does. They want to stay where they are, fine. Let me be the leader. Let me show the example. So that as I climb higher in the ladder and I say, wow, look at the vision up here, like I did as a kid. Once I got to the roof and I said, oh, look at the movie, we could see it. Suddenly some of my friends, that was their motivation. The little fear that they had of climbing to the top changed when there was suddenly some reward at the top of the ladder. And then the fear disappeared for those few moments it took to climb to the top and get on the roof and look at the movie. You and I have to find whatever that is. But we have to know that on the higher rung, as we'll reach for it, then chaos disappears. Some part of our chaos or discomfort goes away. The Creator gave us everything, but He also gave us free will. It's up to us to make use of it. So today of all days, today is the day to decide, I am going to take control. I am not going to let my past negativity take control of me. I'm not going to let it hold me back. I don't want to be held back. I want to be free. I want to be free to move. I want to know that I let go, there's something else to replace it of a higher nature. I want to take this moment right now and decide. The light of the Creator is fulfilling my life beyond this rung. As I will grow, as I will raise myself, I will be letting go. Remember, it's voluntary. How are we going to do it? Voluntary. Remember, I can let go. If I'm holding on to it, I can let go. We have the tools. We're going to use one of them here in a few minutes from the 72 names of God. Give us strength to be able to let go. But we also have to have the decision. We have to make the choice that I want something better in my life, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to let go of whatever it is. Because if I'm not willing to let go, then I can't grow. Then I'm still held back. So today, make that decision. I want to be in control of my life. I don't want anything of a negative nature to hold me back and control me. I don't want to let any of my memories and anything that anybody's done make my life today chaotic. I want the light of the Creator to be in control of my life, because I know that as one door closes, another door opens. And today is the day to close the door of resentment, guilt, shame, anger, anything we're holding on from the past, and open the doors to the future that we see in our heart and soul, in our mind's eye, that the Creator has already set out for us. Take the step today. Let go and move up. God bless.